Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone doing? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am back. I am Shaun Holko. Thank you for joining us here on another episode, another week of Stats Over Politics, episode number 123. I am joined by my guys, Mr. Kevin Dent and Mr. Jaevon Toddy. First and foremost, as we get started, thank you to Kevin, Jaevon, and our guy Kaz for holding it down for me. It's been a tough transition for me here to Sonora. You guys can see me here in the office. The job has been great. Housing situation, not as much. And so I appreciate my guys for being understanding about that, the brief hiatus that I had to take for probably about a month. But I am back now. I'm back for the long haul, and I'm happy to be here. Javon, how are we feeling today?
Hey, man, we're glad to have Shaun back. Not feeling too great about the Niners, but I mean, hey, I guess we're here, right?
We are here. We are here. And Jaevon and I are not feeling so great about our team. Kevin, how are you feeling about your favorite team,
Kev got his feet up.
Philadelphia Eagles? You're muted, so we have to wait to find out. But
Toddy, what happened to the little engine that could?
We still a little into that could, but it's like I still think I can, Kev.
Nah, it's over. Gino put y'all to sleep. It's over. But how am I doing? Shaun, I don't know if you've been tuned in the past couple episodes, but all I've been hearing, Kevin, what place are you guys in division? Second. Toddy, it's a mathematical problem. We haven't played the same amount I don't want to hear it, Kevin. The Commanders, playoffs, Jay Dale's best quarterback in the division. Who's Jalen Hurts? And you know what? He turned into a pumpkin. He ran up against a real defense. Hey, Gary, if you're listening, I appreciate you because y'all did it the week before. But after that, we had to let him know. We'll get into that later on. But I told Toddy, I said, if you got Terry McLaurin in fantasy, leave him on the bench because he's not playing. It doesn't say that he's hurt, Kevin. He's serving his sentence in Guantanamo Bay.
Oh, Guantanamo Bay. I like it.
That's what I've been having to hear the past couple of days. Guantanamo Bay. Inmate 17.
Oh, my gosh, man. Yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're rolling right now, primarily because of their defense. 49ers, not so much. And so we're going to get into all of that today on today's episode. With it being a Monday night, we are going to focus on the NFL. We're going to get into 3 games tonight. Then we're going to get to our speedy Week 11 recap as well, time permitting. We're going to close things out with Shaun's Pop Quiz, which we haven't had one in a really long time. Not just because I haven't been here, but even before that, we haven't had one in a long time. I got a good one for you guys, and I think I'm going to stick with one question, but it's a good one. And so we're going to get to all of that today here on episode number 123 of Stats Over Politics. Before we get started, I just wanted to shout out a couple of YouTube comments as Dad Dent, a.k.a. Smooth, says, welcome back. Appreciate you. And Cousin Marcellus has announced his arrival, as he says, made it. So thank you to you both for tuning in and for everyone who's listening right now. Guys, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it with the game of the week being the Buffalo Bills. Circled the wagons and they beat the Chiefs to give Kansas City their first loss of the season as Buffalo defends home turf, and they beat the Chiefs 30-21. Kevin, you're shaking your head. Why are you shaking your head?
I had Chiefs money line.
Notice how Kevin is talking like a gambler now. I had Chiefs money line. Who is this person?
I'm telling you, I'm Toddy. I wake up, Alyssa's rolling over, good morning, babe. I said, I've been up for 45 minutes, babe. Look at this. What you thinking? Shaun, I don't know if you know, but Toddy and I are second and third place to Alyssa. Alyssa this is her first year ever doing parlay, Shaun, and she's already hit twice.
Ooh. So how many legs were these parlays?
So the first one was 5 and this one was 6.
Damn. That's significant. Toddy knows a little background, and Kevin, I don't know if you remember this from me just talking about it here and there here on the podcast, but I dabbled. I was into betting in Bovada and all that because it's not technically legal in California. But for all of 2022, I dabbled. And first time I ever bet was on the Rose Bowl when Ohio State beat Utah, and Cam Rising is somehow still there. And then all throughout the entire calendar year,
years ago, he's still there.
crazy, absolutely crazy. But yeah, and so I dabbled a little bit here and there, but I never hit on a parlay that was more than 3. So kudos to Alyssa, that's awesome. And I'm happy to hear that she's bringing home some bread as well as you to the Dent household with these parlays. And so you had Chiefs money line, Kevin. I mean, since you mentioned the fact that you had Chiefs money line, I will just mention before I get your thoughts on this game. I'll pop my collar just a little bit. I was the only one to pick the Buffalo Bills to win this game. I was also the only one to pick the Washington Commanders to beat the Eagles. I was wrong. I will take my share. But yeah, we'll get to that.
It's okay, Shaun.
But as far as the Bills and Chiefs go, as Toddy shows us our favorite meme of Drewski, let's just bring it back on the screen real quickly. But with this game, I was the only one to pick the Buffalo Bills, and it's just because I thought to myself, if anyone's going to beat the Chiefs, it has to be the Bills at home during the regular season. In the playoffs, I may not pick them. But in the regular season, I was like, if anyone's going to stop the Chiefs anytime soon, it's the Bills. So I just took a shot in the dark. But Kevin, just let me know why you picked the Chiefs and just what you thought of the game overall.
So all week, all you hear is no this, no Keon Coleman, no Dalton Kincaid. I'm like, man, this is brewing. This is brewing for them to lose. They have everything. Everyone's hurt. And you look at the Chiefs, and besides, of course, the season-ending injuries, and then Pacheco, who is yet to return, they're pretty much healthy. They brought in the reinforcements. You see Kareem Hunt, you see DeAndre Hopkins, but the biggest thing to me is you hold Travis Kelce to 2 catches for 8 yards, you're going to win that game regardless. Patrick Mahomes, you can say he hasn't looked like himself this year, but we're saying that as they're sitting back 9-1. So is he just doing a lot more with less? Is he doing less with more? Xavier Worthy, Shaun's guy on fantasy, he has been playing out of his mind. And he still has these big games and still has 3 or 4 little fuck ups that could have exploded his game. So the Bills are figuring it out. And like I said, no Keon Coleman, no Dalton Kincaid, and Josh Allen. Toddy said it week after week after week. He's playing at an MVP level. And for him to get over this hump, for people who've been watching this rivalry for a long time, you understand how long Josh Allen's been waiting to get over this hump. And I can only imagine the confidence they now have looking around that room, seeing who they had, and knowing that they beat the Chiefs. So tops off to the Bills, best team in the AFC by far. We'll get into the Ravens game earlier, but if you had to ask me today who the best team in the AFC was, it would be the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and the biggest thing about this win for the Bills is if they don't win, then they have 3 losses. Kansas City has 0 at this point, and KC would likely run away with the 1 seed. Now the Bills have the head-to-head tiebreaker, and they're 1 game back of Kansas City, and so that's very significant, and will be 6 weeks from now. And Toddy, Kevin was mentioning Josh Allen, who came into this season voted by his peers as the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. Actually, was it overrated player or overrated quarterback? One of the two.
I think it was quarterback. It might have been player.
Okay. So regardless, his peers were saying that he was overrated. Now he's playing at an MVP level. Do you think that he ends up winning MVP, Toddy? And just what did you think of this game in general?
I thought, it kind of sums up what the Bills are during the regular season versus the playoffs. I saw a stat that Josh Allen was undefeated against the Chiefs in the regular season, but Mahomes is undefeated in the playoffs during the Bills in the playoffs. So, kind of just coming down to there were both quarterbacks had turnovers in this game. Mahomes had one early that was tipped. It was a bad throw. He tried to do a jump pass, and it was too high, and it got tipped and intercepted. And usually when a ball gets tipped, that's never a good sign for the opposing team. Xavier Worthy made a couple of plays in this game, as Shaun or Kevin already alluded to. I thought that this kind of came down to Josh Allen just putting on his Superman cape and just figuring a way how to win this game. And I thought that I want to give a hats off to Coach McDermott. In that fourth and 3, I think it was, or at the end of the game, usually they would kick that field goal and just say, "Hey, we'll let the defense figure it out." But in this instance, they ended up going for it, and Josh Allen scores like a 26-yard touchdown run, and that kind of seals the game. Because you never really want to give Patrick Mahomes that leeway of, okay, I have this amount of time left. We're down at least a touchdown. I can drive down the field and score a touchdown and however long try to take all the clock. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. Whenever Mahomes is kind of left with a little bit of time left on the clock, usually drives down the field and gets it done. So it was different to see that the Bills went for it in that particular point in time, and they got the first down and they got a touchdown, even more than that. So you got to give hats off to the Bills too. Now they're still, I think they're a game out of first place now that the Chiefs have a loss. And so now you kind of looking at it, who's going to get the 1 seed? Is it the Bills? Is it the Chiefs? Is it the Steelers? Are the Steelers in contention? I know our guys Cordell and Gary are like, hey, put some respect on our name. And last week, Kevin and Kaz and I were saying, we all said that we had a factor cap. Are the Steelers a number 1 team or a top 3 team in the AFC? And we all said no. It was on contingent of them winning this past weekend, and we'll probably get into that game a little bit later. But I think it's a race between those 3 teams, in my opinion. You could say something about maybe the Chargers, but I'd say they're a couple of games out, in my opinion. But this Bills Chiefs, if it comes down to a tiebreaker, this will definitely come down to one of the games. Like, hey, they got the head-to-head, and Buffalo ends up getting that tiebreaker. But we saw even last year when Buffalo did everything that they wanted, everything that they could to get the number 1 seed, and they still ended up going home in the divisional round, if I'm not mistaken. So sometimes, home field matters, and sometimes it doesn't. But it really kind of just depends on, health and how hot is your team at that point in time. And I think the Bills are one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in the AFC.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken as well, the Bills got sent packing by the Chiefs in the playoffs again, right? That's correct. And so the one other thing that I wanted to say about this game is the fact that when Josh Allen scored that touchdown and the Bills went up by 2 scores, those 9 points, there was like 3-4 minutes left. I still didn't feel good about it. And I was obviously rooting for the Bills because I picked the Bills and I wanted to come back on the podcast and say, hey, I told you so, with the one game that I got wrong or right compared to you guys. And as I said, I got the Commanders wrong, so it evens out. But I still didn't feel good about it just because, like, I'm traumatized when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. From what he's done to the 49ers twice in the Super Bowl. Kevin shaking his head yes, because he saw what he did to his team once in the Super Bowl. And we just see what they do on a week-to-week basis. I mean, even for the Chiefs to get to 9-0, they pulled like 4 games out of their ass, and they won them at the last second. For example, that Broncos game where they blocked the field goal at the end of the game. The Broncos are about to upset them on their home field, and they somehow find a way to win. That wasn't because of Patrick Mahomes, but the Chiefs, they just find a way to win. And so for Buffalo to get this win is slightly significant, but Josh Allen downplayed it coming into the game. He said, well, it's a regular season game, and we have yet to beat them in the playoffs. So does it really matter? No. In the grand scheme of things, no. But it's a new year. It's a new season. And this could be a morale booster for the Buffalo Bills. Is there anything else that either of you wanted to touch on with this matchup before we get to Kevin's squad?
We were cheated in the Super Bowl. I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, speaking of the we that Kevin refers to, he is talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Philadelphia Eagles, as I said earlier, have been rolling as they have been killing it on defense. And Jalen Hurts is doing just enough Jalen Hurts has still been inconsistent in my opinion, but the defense is carrying them. And we saw that a lot, Toddy. We've seen that a lot with the 49ers, where when Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback, the defense was carrying them. And
That's
so
insane
now,
to compare the two. The disrespect will not be tolerated. I saw the little jab you trying to throw in there.
I understand.
Jalen Hurts that will not be tolerated. Jalen Hurts hate will not be tolerated.
You know, honestly, that's fair. I deserve to be cut off with that one because that was a bit egregious. But overall
point with it too, Toddy.
Oh man,
weave it in so casually. But point being, Eagles are being carried by their defense. Eagles look really good. Especially, this is very important because Toddy and I, primarily me, like to bring up the fact that the Eagles had that drastic slide last year where they started like 10-1 and finished 11-7 and so, or 11-6, whatever it was. Anyways, the point is their defense collapsed last year. And so for the defense to be the backbone of this team now, Eagles are looking like real contenders. And so, Kevin, you're our expert when it comes to the Eagles on this show, especially without Kaz here to get a second voice. And so tell us about your birds. I mean, fly, Eagles fly, right?
Big mute.
You're damn right. Fly, Eagles fly. Like I said, every week you've been gone, Shaun. Toddy's been saying, Commanders, Kevin, how you feeling? Toddy, 14 points. Easy. Not even worried about it. You got Terry McLaurin in fantasy? Don't play him. You're real confident, Kev. I don't know. And then 15 minutes later, Shaun goes in the group chat. Eagles haven't covered the spread. Toddy's like, Kevin, I don't know. I'm like, Toddy, if anything, this is the game. As a brother, I got you. This is where the money is. And what did he do? He didn't go. He went against me. Commander spread. First half, Eagles are the Eagles. We can't score. We can't keep drives going. But the one thing, like Shaun mentioned, is our defense. Our defense is playing outstanding. Jalen Carter is arguably the best. Besides the Chris Joneses of the world, he is definitely put himself in that same tier as those guys because every game he is single-handedly taking over this game. We are seeing guys like Nolan Smith who have done nothing. But this year, they're finally able to crack open under Vic Fangio, and they're flourishing. We could talk. We can go down. We talk about this secondary. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, Darius Big Play Slay, Quinyon Mitchell, a.k.a. the Warden, and Cooper DeJean. I tell Toddy every Sunday, I know how the Boston Celtic fans used to feel when Larry Bird was playing. 33's here, 33's here, 33's here. He's just making plays everywhere. So for this team to come in here and consistently have an identity, Shaun, the first couple games we didn't have an identity. We really didn't know what this team was going to be. Is this going to be like the 2022 team where we're just putting up big games and running the shit out of the ball because we have the time of possession, or are we going to be a team that has to play defense? You know, this is not even arguably. And when I say this, people are going to say I'm crazy. But as an Eagles fan, this is the best defense Jalen Hurts has had. I get it. The Super Bowl run, third all-time in sacks. I get it. But if we look at the secondaries, yes, Bradbury played at an all-pro level, but we always struggled at the nickel because we always had to put Avonte Maddox out there. So for us to now have Cooper DeJean out there, and Slay's not playing at a high level, but for him to play at a good enough level to not stick out with these young folks and show them the ropes. We were really butting heads with – It's funny because I listened to Eagles podcast and they mentioned we were kind of like the Warriors. We were trying to contend but also build for the future. So we were really hoping on these young guys, the Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. We were really hoping for these guys, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. We're really investing a lot into our young guys. So to see them get in that return only helps. And then we still got guys like Brandon Graham. Bryce Huff is finally starting to play football after 6-7 weeks. So we're really rolling here offensively. Saquon Barkley, I'm going to stamp it right here, Offensive Player of the Year. I get it. It's neck and neck. Derrick Henry hasn't had a bye yet. The moment he has a bye, Saquon's going to go out there and put up, 196 scrimmage yards? And I think that's going to be the game. Yes, and this is really fucked up, but it's like the Ashanti Genti. They force feed Derrick Henry. We force feed Saquon, but we also force feed him through the air. So with the battle of force feeding, Saquon does it through the air and he runs the ball. So I know a lot of people are really pushing for Derrick Henry. I get it. He Hall of Famer. I get it. Touchdown leader. But Saquon has had 9 touchdowns that landed at the 2 or shorter. Can you guys guess how many of those times he scored a touchdown?
9.
No, how many times that he actually got to score the touchdown?
Twice.
Once.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because
They
everybody
don't
knows
believe in handing the ball off to the running back.
you give Saquon those 9 carries, he's the touchdown leader. Everyone's rooting for Derrick Henry because he's the touchdown leader, but if you give Saquon those 9 touchdowns, he's going to bust it over. But unfortunately, our quarterback squats 600 pounds, and I told Toddy, that's 12,000 pounds you got to get through. We got some big dudes over there. So I'm feeling really good about the Eagles right now, man. You know, I was going to wear my Super Bowl patch jersey, but I'm going to save that for December 2nd. Because when we come in here, after we go to Baltimore, Maryland, and come back with the W, y'all ain't going to stand me. I'm on my shit.
Yeah, I saw a tush push meme recently. I wish I could find it because it was hilarious, but it was basically like when Jalen Hurts sees the opportunity to do a tush push, and it's like the guy who's like just cooking, and then it's kind of like Saquon, as Kevin said, is kind of just getting robbed time and time again. Even though he keeps getting robbed when it comes to getting those 6 fantasy points or 6 real life points, still putting up major numbers. The only other name I would throw into that offensive player of the year conversation is Kevin's newest star, Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is racking up the numbers.
He missed some time though, so it's gonna be hard for him to do it.
He missed 3 games, but if people are like,
Jamal's got something to say too.
They're not winning though. You know you got to have it all. This ain't the NBA.
Yeah.
you got to have it all here.
Yeah, that's very true.
But before you pass it on, talking about gambling, real quick, I had 450 on the line, Shaun. I'm texting Ty saying I'm taking Alyssa to Benny Hanna. Zach Ertz, 4 receptions. He had 2 receptions, Shaun. The very last drive, they throw it to him 3 times.
Yep.
Listen, we ain't going. Call him. Tell him to cancel. So, I'm happy to know you made it out, Shaun, because I told Ty today I'm out. And what did he do? Send me his parlay. He is a horrible friend for all the listeners out there. I am an addict trying to get out, and he just keeps feeding me.
Oh my God!
That's why
the day has come that Kevin is talking about his parlay stories, his parlay adventures on the podcast. Just love to see it.
Well, that's why we have Vonnie's hotline, because he is our gambling expert on this podcast. Kevin, one final question that I wanted to ask you, just because you mentioned their names during your response, and you mentioned Larry Bird. What's the nickname that Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship have as a duo?
So another quick storyline. They wore a shirt that said like white corners or something. And
Exciting Whites.
Exciting Whites. And I called Toddy. I said, Commander's money line. We're done. We're cooked. This is open. Everyone else can talk about it, but the moment they start focusing on it, we're fucked. They're going to start playing like shit. And you know what? I'm a big fan of the Milky Way. But I mean, you know, there's not a lot of white guys out there, so they can be whatever, but I am a huge fan of the Milky Way.
Toddy, what do you think about the Eagles right now?
I think they're very talented. Their roster is, I think it's one of the best in the league. I think Jalen Hurts he's been playing well because he hasn't really been turning the ball over, and I feel like that's been something that he had to clean up early on in the season. Saquon has been playing out of his ass. You got guys like AJ Brown on the playing the X receiver. No one can really guard him, so it's like okay. And then you look at the Commanders, who were a very exciting team. And yes, I was one of those guys saying, well, the Commanders are number 1 in the division, Kevin. You got to see them. And I was going to pick the Commanders to win, but then I saw that the game was in Philly, and I was like, uh-oh. I said, I don't know now. But then I got swindled when Shaun was saying Commanders. I was like, well, maybe they cover the spread.
Durs.
I was about to say not command. It was Durs.
Yeah, the
Durs.
Maybe the Durs cover the spread. And it looked good up until about like the third quarter, and then everything kind of just spiraled after that.
It's like an
Saquon
avalanche.
caught like a 40, 50-yard pass, and he's on my fantasy team, by the way. So I was cheering on the inside, but it was just Saquon just happened. And you heard the Eagles fans at the post game for Amazon. You heard them saying thank you, Giants, while he was like while he was talking at the little podium or whatever. And you kind of just wonder, like, how did the Giants just let this guy just walk scot-free? Like, hey, we all saw the HBO Max, and like, what type of clown show is going on with the Giants right now? Like, it's so bad that Mr. Gabagool himself is supposed to be starting on Sunday. DeVito is coming back. But let's get back to the game itself. I thought Jaden Daniels definitely looked like a rookie in this game. He looked, I don't know if he's healthy all the way, but at the same time, I thought that he wasn't making a lot of nice throws. Terry McLaurin was non-existent.
Locked up.
Yeah. As I just, you just wait for you cue Kevin in some of these things, and you just let it happen.
Take on.
It was like you saw a really good team go up against a team that is
not really good.
I wouldn't say they're not really good. They're just not. They haven't played a meaningful game in God knows how long. This was like the biggest game that they played in how many years? It's been a while.
The Steelers game was pretty big too.
Yeah, that was also another big game. But I think that, this in division, they're winning the division. It was a big deal for them. So I think the Eagles are just gonna get better, and I think the Commanders are gonna kind of just come back to earth a little bit. I did have the Commanders making the playoffs this year. I did have the Eagles winning this division. So I think it went as I would have thought that it would have went. I do still think the Commanders and Eagles probably split this year. Why
are you lying to the people, Toddy?
I'm not lying.
What did you see that makes you have any faith that it's going to work in Washington?
Say that one more time. You cut out.
What did you see? Just give us a couple things that you saw that you're like, they'll fix it and they'll turn things around in Washington.
A healthier Jaden Daniels. I do think they'll figure out a way to get Terry McLaurin the ball. I don't even think they try to.
You see the show Prison Break? Is that what they're gonna do? Hey man, that ain't gonna change. So if Austin Eckler's gonna have 87 receiving yards again and Zach Ertz is the second leading receiver, then maybe they have a shot, Toddy. But I think you're trolling. I truly, in your hearts of hearts, don't think you would think they have a chance to beat us because they didn't show anything to be like,
I mean, I feel like Jaden Daniels will play better in the game at home against you guys. So
Jaden Daniels fixes everything.
I mean, he's the quarterback.
He's pretty good.
He's the reason why they're where they are right now. So
I mean, like Toddy said, they haven't played nobody. Every time they play somebody, they lose. So is he really good, or they got to play the Giants twice?
I'm not saying they're going to win the division, Kevin.
You're saying they're going to beat us, which is insane. But for time purposes, I'll let you go. I just wanted the listeners to know that you don't have nothing. You just think that it's just going to work better. But I mean, everyone has a dream.
Yeah, that's why I'm giving my opinion on the show. I think that they can still split with you guys. But, I mean, that's not really saying much because I feel like you guys will still be able to win the division because your record's going to be better than theirs. And that's okay.
Well, to follow up on two things. The first one, Kevin asked, like, what are they going to do differently? I have no idea. Like, give Terry McLaurin the ball more. That would be my suggestion. But
he ran
if he's getting
25 routes and got one pass.
Yeah, I know. He's not even being targeted. And so it's like if he's just getting locked up, then there's not much they could really do about it. Like maybe Noah Brown from the Ohio State University could get more involved because he seems to have become their second receiver. But this touches on something from early in the show. But despite the fact that I cannot give you any logic or reasoning as to how the Commanders will beat the Eagles and what would be different, I'm probably still going to pick the Commanders the next time they play the Eagles. And that touches on the fact that, yeah, I probably made my pick last week out of probably 50% hate. And last week, like genuinely, I thought the Commanders would win. But now that I'm reevaluating it, it's probably 50-50, like an even 50-50. So I was doing some politic in there, but that hurt me overall in our pick'em. But even through my hiatus, top two, and I ain't two. So let's knock on some wood if you're with me and hope I can keep that going. And so as we now get to our third and final game that we're going to talk about in depth here on episode 123 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Dent and Jaevon Toddy. These are the moments that Gary probably wishes he was here just so he could talk his shit, but he had to move on with bigger and better things. And so the Steelers beat the Ravens 18-16, and I did not expect this at all. I had my friend Keith, who we got to get on the podcast eventually. Keith has been getting like millions of views on TikTok just by doing these 2-minute clips. But Keith was blowing up my phone saying, oh, these are the days that this is going to be the day that you all learn that everyone who picked against the Steelers, you're all going to learn. You're going to learn that we're for real, all these things. And I was just like, all right, let's see if you can stop Derrick Henry. They didn't necessarily stop him, but they did enough. And so, Jaevon, you and I were talking about earlier how last week you guys had a factor cap. Are the Steelers a top 3 team? Well, I'm not necessarily going to ask you that, but are the Steelers for real? Because I thought that the Steelers, because the Bengals haven't had the year that I expected them, I thought the Steelers were second best in the division. But they might have proved yesterday that they are the kings of the AFC North. And Browns aside, it's a pretty damn good division. So that's an achievement in itself. What do you think, Toddy?
I've been on the Steelers train, I'd say since the Jets, ever since Russ pretty much started. I guess going against the grain a little bit because they've been dogs, like home dogs in a bunch of these games. Like last week, they were dogs against the Commanders. I was on them. And this week, I was on the Steelers against the Ravens. And I think it kind of just goes. I saw like a stat whenever the home team in this this matchup is a dog, they have a winning record. So the Steelers and the Ravens, they're going to go out every single time. Lamar's record against the Steelers isn't the greatest. I think he has a losing record. Now, a bunch of those games he was hurt in. But I saw that the only win that he had against the Steelers was against Duck Hodges. So when you kind of put that into perspective and you're like, okay, if you just get competent quarterback play, that's usually what the Steelers kind of just been lacking ever since Big Ben's been gone. It's been the Duck Hodges, it's been the Kenny Pickett's. It's been, it hasn't been good.
Mason Rudolph.
I mean, yeah, Mason Rudolph. Like it hasn't been, up to par for what the Steelers are known to having. And that's, stability at the quarterback position. And I feel like Russell Wilson, who was 4-0 as the starter, Mike Tomlin came out and said that's why he's highly compensated. So, I mean, going back to making the move when he did, Justin Fields was hot. The Steelers were playing actually really well, and Fields wasn't fucking it up, pretty much is what he was doing. And the defense is, as Kevin once called them, the JV defense. I feel like they've upgraded the varsity this year, Kev. This defense has been on the tear. TJ Watt looks like the defensive player of the year. I mean, they caused havoc. I think they forced 2 turnovers, if I'm not mistaken, in this game. The Steelers didn't score a touchdown, and they won this game. Got to the red zone a bunch of times and kicked a bunch of field goals. It got real at the end because Lamar obviously drove down the field and led them on a touchdown drive, but they were unable to convert the 2-point conversion. So that kind of put them in a pickle a little bit. So I feel like the Steelers kind of dominated the field position on where they were at and how they were able to kind of get into the red zone. George Pickens, I thought, played pretty well in this game. Derrick Henry was supposed to be the deciding factor in this game because I'm getting a bunch of my guys, again, will saying, well, they didn't have Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry isn't there. I'm like, hey, man, I don't know. There's just something about the Steelers that they've been playing pretty well, and they're on a little bit of a streak here ever since old Russ stepped into the helm. And our guy Cordell came on to the show, and he said, hey, I think the Steelers start out 6-2, 7-2. And I'm like, Cordell,
We laughed at him.
You're insane. There's no way. You got the Browns. What are the Deshaun Watson might be able to do? What about the Bengals? You think Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase going to stand for this? Well, what about Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry? Did you forget that they got? Well, what about Russell Wilson and Najee Harris? What about George Pickens? What about Darnell Washington? Like, a bunch of these guys weren't really making plays like that until old Russ came into the picture. Mr. Unlimited out there throwing moonballs, and George Pickens out there snagging them, catching every single 50-50 ball that he can. And I mean, the defense is going to be what the defense is. They're always going to have a really good defense. Kings just lost, by the way. They're always going to have a really good defense, and they really just needed a quarterback to kind of just make plays happen. And I feel like that's definitely what Russ is able to do. And is Russell Wilson an MVP candidate?
Oh, fuck no. Get out of here. No.
That's not crazy to say.
Well, considering the fact that earlier Kevin eliminated Joe Mixon from the Offensive Player of the Year discussion for missing 3 games, Russell Wilson missed like 4 or 5.
They're winning.
So, yeah, they are winning. They are winning. Man, it's crazy. Like, when you bring up what Cordell said, like, yeah, we all thought he was crazy. But then to even hear you mention Russell Wilson as a candidate for MVP, like, it's not crazy to say that at this point. When you factor in how many games he missed, that may put him lower down the totem pole. But to even finish top 5, top 10 in MVP voting, that is something that I never thought I would say about Russell Wilson.
I don't think he has an MVP either.
No, he didn't, because he had that 1 year. Yeah, he had that. Well, what was it? Blue was trying to tell us? Yeah, no, he hasn't. But what, 2022, when
one of those years that they were going to the bowl, I think he lost it to like somebody. I can't remember.
Well, I remember 2020. It was either 2021 or 2022. It was one of those 2 years recently. And actually, you know what? It might have been 2020. I'm trying to think of when it was, but like the Seahawks started like crazy good, and like Russ was cooking all these things, and like we all thought he was going to be the MVP, and then they kind of.
I think Aaron Rodgers won in one of those years, to be honest.
That makes sense. But anyways, point being, like, we all thought Russ was cooked. Here he is leading the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers as an organization, like, just have a track record, but Russell Wilson being this efficient, I didn't have it on my bingo card. Kevin, what about you?
You know, Tony gave a lot of love to the Steelers. I think that they are just scraping by. You know, you look at the Chiefs winning by single digits. Toddy mentioned they won an NFL football game, the National Football League, without scoring a touchdown. You know, we've seen shit like that happen. We've seen people win with throwing 5 picks. And Toddy mentioned a team being carried by their defense, and that is exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers do Sunday in and Sunday out.
Are they still a JV defense, Kev?
Let me get to that. So, are they a JV defense, or did they play a JV offense?
Okay.
Oh, wow.
They have lost 4 games this year.
Wow.
And 3 of those 4 losses, Derrick Henry has had 13 touches. 13 touches. So you're telling me Lamar Jackson is going to sit back there and pat that ball and beat us? That's the game plan. Do you trust Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, Deontay Johnson? Time after time after time, they have shown us you can't trust them. So if they're going to rely on Lamar Jackson throwing the ball and winning the game, I don't really think that's going to work. 16 of 33, 207. The numbers look great. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The last play of the game, you have Derrick Henry on your team, and you're going to run a quarterback bootleg for what? Well, there's just a lot of things going on in Baltimore. Their defense is ass, just straight awful. They're giving up points left and right. We saw George Pickens lighten up this defense. You know, when you thought Marlon Humphrey, you see they got the new corner from Clemson, Nate Wiggins. They're doing whatever they can to fix this secondary, but this Ravens defense is not looking like the Ravens defense in past years. So if you're only going to give Derrick Henry 13 carries, you're not going to win. And it's shown in all 4 of the losses. Against the Raiders, he had 18, but all 3 of those other losses had 13 or less rush attempts. Why would you pay him all this money to not do it? You see the Niners on their run to the Super Bowl when they were good. It seems like such a long time ago. They're not giving CMC 13 carries. We're not giving Saquon 13 carries. The Texans aren't giving Joe Mixon 13 carries. If you're that dude, you're that dude, and you're going to get force-fed the ball because that's a part of this offense. We didn't put Lamar under center for 13 attempts a game. So are the Steelers really good, or are they kind of scraping by? You look at these last 2 games, you can definitely say there are 2 games that they definitely scraped out of their wins. Both teams had chances to win at the end. So I can't put a lot of faith into a team that didn't score a single offensive touchdown.
I will mention that Kevin said the Baltimore Ravens are a JV offense. They do lead the league in yards per game at 430.
And you know what happened in those games? Derrick Henry touches the ball more than 13 times.
Well, I guess
so. That number's cute, but that didn't work against the Steelers. That didn't work.
The division game. I feel like all those games.
Okay. Really close. Hold on. Really Raider game. What happened there? Raiders pretty good. Hold on.
That was week 2.
Cleveland Browns
division game
with Deshaun Watson.
No. I thought Jay Boo played in that game.
Yeah, that was Jay Boo. That was Jay Boo because Jay Boo damn near threw a pick that lost the game, and Kyle Hamilton dropped it. Yeah.
Oh,
and then he threw the game-winning touchdown, and he was thanking the Lord.
Yeah, when you saw this team week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs, you're thinking we're good. Isaiah Likely's talking. If that's their best game, then we're going to get them. Yeah, and Isaiah Likely I've seen his name dropped and picked up and dropped and picked up and sleeper like a counterfeit 20.
Oh,
I dropped him. Shaun picked him up. Shaun drops him. Someone else picks him up. I
dropped him
land of lost
night.
toys. I came in here when they lost to Cleveland. I was worried. They're losing games because they just don't have the pieces. They need to get a wide receiver too. I get it. Every 3rd, 4th game, Rashad Bateman goes off. But you can always rely on one of these receivers dropping a pass, and we saw it against the Steelers. Wide open, Zay Flowers, right between his hands, hit him in the visor.
It's tough.
If they're only going to let Derrick Henry run the ball 13 times, December 2nd, I'm going to come in here and say some very, very outlandish things.
Well, the one thing I will say to add on is, Derrick Henry is having a great year when some people were saying that he was done and that he had already peaked, all these things. He might have already peaked, but Derrick Henry is playing good when he gets the ball. But as Kevin mentioned, by the way, Kevin, kudos to you. That was a great stat. Absolutely great stat in regard to Derrick Henry and how many carries he gets when the Ravens lose. The one other thing I wanted to add to this before we move on to our speedy Week 11 NFL recap is the fact that Lamar Jackson was just in the MVP conversation. Like, people were saying he's going to win his 3rd and go back to back. And for him to suddenly fall out of the MVP conversation, I'm not there yet. But yesterday was a game he should have won. To me, that's a game he should have won. And he didn't.
Have their number.
They do have their number. But Toddy, you also mentioned that great stat about when the home team are underdogs. You should put all your money there. Baltimore is going to be the home team next time. Will they be the underdogs is the real question. I guess we'll have to wait and see, and we will talk about it here on Stats Over Politics. So Now, let's move on to our speedy Week 11 NFL recap. And, I'm going to start this off because I got some shit to get off my chest. Because the last time I was on this podcast, which was damn near about a month ago, the 49ers had just beat the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. Feeling great. And now, coincidentally, I return and the 49ers lose to the Seahawks. This is the first time in Brock Purdy's career that he has lost to the Seattle Seahawks. And, man, I said this a couple weeks ago. I said this when the Brandon Ayuk injury happened and he tore his ACL out for the year. This feels like 2020 all over again. Just a complete repeat. I've seen this fucking movie before. You lose to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. You come back the next year. It's going to be a revenge tour. Oh, we're coming for everyone. And then everyone drops like flies. Injuries are just nonstop. Now Brock Purdy is day to day with what is it, Toddy? You might have seen it shoulder. I was going to say the elbow. Shoulder injury for Brock Purdy. Ayuk's out for the year. Christian McCaffrey just got back. Jordan Mason's banged up. Kittle missed the game with a hamstring injury. I mean, we still haven't seen Dre Greenlaw. Has Talanoa Hufanga played yet? I don't think so. Like one game. We are just injured so much. And it's so painful. And the most painful part about it, Kevin, because Toddy, I know you can relate to this, but Kevin is going to just enjoy our misery throughout all this, and understandably so. But the thing that is so painful for me about it, like Toddy, you said 2-3 weeks ago, we're cooked. Then we get a little bit of hope and we're like, hey, we're back. I don't want to say we're cooked because mathematically the 49ers have a great shot to win the division still. Like the Cardinals are 6-4. Everyone else is 5-5. Literally everyone in the NFC West is in it and has a chance. And I have grown conditioned as a 49ers fan, and I know I'm going beyond my minute, but I'm sorry, I just had to get this off my chest, is we have become conditioned as 49ers fans, and Toddy, we have been spoiled the fact that we can count on our team to get to the playoffs and to win when they get there. We can't count on them to get the ultimate prize, but we can count on them to get some playoff wins, something that Dallas Cowboys fans can't relate to. But because of that, we have become conditioned to not, even when the 49ers were doing well earlier in the year, I didn't give a shit about it because I was like, I don't care. Wake me up when the playoffs start. And then I just want to see what happens when the playoffs start. And I want to see them get back to the Super Bowl and actually win it. Now it's a question of if they're even going to make the playoffs. But, I mean, I'm so torn because I want to still have hope, but then I'm also dead inside. And it feels like 2020 all over again. And so I don't know which way I'm leaning yet. Maybe I'll give you guys an answer by next week. But I'm just so torn because it's like they could still win the division, still get in the playoffs, go on a run. Who knows what happens when they make it to the NFC Championship game and see the Eagles or the Lions, or if they even get to that point, or go to the Super Bowl, what have you. But I'm just so torn about it, and it has just been a roller coaster of a season. And yesterday's loss against the Seahawks kind of just was the cherry on top. Because I met my friend Matthew's girlfriend for the first time on Saturday. We went and had dinner, and she lives in Seattle. She's a Seahawks fan. I was talking so much shit. I was just like, hey, since Russell Wilson has been gone, you guys have not touched us. And, of course, they lose to the Seahawks. Geno walks off with a touchdown. And as a 49ers fan, it just makes me miserable. Toddy, I know that this is our quick recap, but did you have anything you want to add about the 49ers before we just get to these games quickly?
I saw something on Twitter that the Seahawks tried to call timeout right before that play started, and I don't think they had any timeouts left.
That just makes it worse.
And they didn't have any timeouts left, and so it should have been a penalty. But hey, that's just I don't know what to make of this team anymore. I'm lost for words. Usually I'm talking shit to Kevin, telling him that your team can't fuck with my team. Can't really say anything right now.
Your team can't fuck with my team.
I really can't say anything right now. I can't defend myself. I'm getting kicked while I'm down here. Geno's doing the freaking Steph Curry celebration, the night celebration.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, bro, you haven't beat us. Like you're 1-5 against us. But I mean, you know what?
When was that one? Yesterday.
Kevin's posted on Instagram like he's a Niner fan. I mean, I don't really know what to say. I mean, we're up in all these games. Like all of our division games, we're up. We're winning in the fourth quarter, and we somehow figure out a way to lose. I mean, the only bright spot in this game was Jaevon Jennings. I think he's a real receiver. He's having a breakout year. He's not just a third down receiver. He can do anything a number one can do. So, I mean, Christian McCaffrey's there, but he's not going to solve all of our problems. We have no pass rush. Oh, Shaun, you forgot to mention that Nick Bosa is going to be out, probably missing some time. And it showed. I mean, he had a couple of sacks towards the end of the game. All of a sudden, he's out with a hip injury. And then you just see that the pass rush is non-existent on those last couple of drives. And, I mean, we're 5-5. The Cardinals are leading the division at 6-4. You got to win the majority of your games here. I mean, the Niners have teams like the Packers. They have the Bills. They have the Lions. And you're already 5-5 right now. So it's not going to get easier. And you got to play teams like the Cardinals. You got to play teams like the Rams again. I get the Bears are on there, but I mean,
and the Dolphins. That's the last team we did.
The Dolphins are also on there. None of these games are going to be gimmies. So I mean, all of the gimmies that we were supposed to win, that ship has sailed already. So I mean, it's put up or shut up now. And dare I say, are the Niners going to miss the playoffs? It's an absolute possibility that the Niners can miss the playoffs, and we're going to be a team that's in no man's land. They're not going to be good enough to make the playoffs, but they're not going to have a bad enough draft pick to be, let's try and wiggle into the top 10. We're going to be like 13th, 14th. We're going to be in the middle of the pack. This is the worst place.
The best coach in football, you think he'd figure things out?
You know, all of the coaches have rough seasons. You know, it's happened. But, I mean, you got to roll.
Dare I say hot seat?
No, let's not do that. We're not doing it. No. Yeah.
Let's not even play that game. But just to add on, Toddy, you mentioned Nick Bosa. It made me laugh so much because not him getting hurt, obviously, but after he was sidelined and the Seahawks scored that second touchdown, they put that damn graphic on the screen where it said Seahawks have scored 2 touchdowns since Nick Bosa left the game, and I was just like, and they kept putting the camera on him, and I was like, ugh.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And you mentioned Jaevon Jennings. Just a quick anecdote about that is we know him as 49ers fans as third in Jaevon, and you nailed it, Toddy. He's not just a third down wide receiver. But I was watching the game at my mom's house yesterday with her and her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's a casual when it comes to watching sports, but he enjoys watching. And I just said to him, I said, you see 15 right there? You see it's 3rd and 11? The ball's going to him. It went to him. 3rd and 9. The ball's going to him. It went to by the 3rd time. He was like, holy shit, he's getting the ball every time. And that's Jaevon Jennings right there. And yeah, there's not much else to be said about the 49ers. It hurts to be a 49ers fan right now.
Gotta lace them up for Green Bay this weekend.
Yep, exactly.
Khalil's been wanting to come on the show. He won't leave me alone.
He can come. He can come on Monday, following the 5 and 6, the little engine that just ran out of gas.
So, Kevin, I'm going to toss this next one to you because this is the team that your Eagles will likely see in the NFC Championship game. That is the Detroit Lions, who lost to the 49ers in the NFC Championship game last year. Actually, they choked. Anywho, the Lions are absolutely steamrolling everyone, and that included the Jaguars this week. As Kevin, the Lions beat the Jaguars 52-6.
It's the Jags, and as I'm saying that, I know Toddy's thinking in his head, well, you guys didn't beat the Jags that bad. Well, unfortunately, when you're playing 14 on 11, shit like that just happens. But, there's no need to talk about the past. Talk about the present. The Lions fucking suck. I mean, not the Lions. The Jaguars fucking suck.
This is your team,
I am genuinely scared for Doug Peterson.
He's gone. He's already out of there.
If he is to be fired, I am calling Howie, and he needs to become an offensive pass game consultant. He doesn't need just let him come back. He has a statue out front. He can help you GM. Dougie can't be unemployed. That statue's not even a decade, 10 years old. He can't be unemployed. We got to figure this out. But they have no Trevor Lawrence. Gabe Davis goes down. Christian Kirk's out for the year. They just have Brian Thomas. They don't really have much going. They currently have the number 1 pick. And I believe that shit's not going to change. And unfortunately, Travis Hunter, unless Dion pulls a Dion.
Oh, yeah, he ain't going.
Bill Jaguar.
You know he ain't going.
Shit.
He ain't going.
Shit. And don't get me wrong. Quick off topic. I get it. You're Deion Sanders. It's the Sanders and it's the Mannings. You know, what's the second? Shiloh. Shiloh doesn't carry as much weight. If Shiloh was Travis, you have a conversation. Because Eli and Payne were top, 5, 6 picks?
No, they were number 1 each.
They both won? Okay. So Shiloh's going to be a day 2, day 3 pick. So he doesn't have that kind of power, but I would love to see it. But long story short, the Lions are the second best team in the NFC for a reason. Toddy, like I tell you, Jameson Williams isn't going to do this every game. I've had him on my fantasy team. There's been a lot of games.
That's why Kevin traded him to me yesterday.
There's a lot of games where he don't do nothing. They took him for PEDs, and he had 2 points. What PEDs are you taking? So they got a lot of things going, but if you let this run game run all over you, it can get ugly quick. And one of their corners said, if you don't come to play, we're going to blow you the hell out. And Dan Campbell has really brought in this identity to where every week, if you don't play defense, they're keeping their stars into the last drive of the fourth quarter, and they're going to try to put a 50. So hats off to the Lions. Second best team in the NFC. They got a long way to go, but we'll see them when we see them.
Yeah, well, in my Dynasty Fantasy Football League, I've been tanking this year, and I just completely rebuilt the whole team, sold off all my old players. Point being, I've been tanking, and I'm going to have the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming rookie draft. You better believe I'm taking Travis Hunter. Regardless of wherever he goes, I'm taking him. And, I mean, with Dion, he basically treats Travis like he's his third son. We saw that clip where Shador and Travis are talking, and they were talking about Travis's upcoming wedding. And Shador was like, "Why ain't you just having it at Dad's house?" And he was like, "Oh, like shoulda, coulda, woulda. Everything's already paid for by my fiance, but it's basically his third son." And so it'll be interesting to see what Dion does in those top 10 picks and what happens. Anywho, Toddy, the Saints, they beat the Browns 35-14.
The Rizzler, Coach Rizzy. He's 2-0 now. I feel like this is a common theme when a coach gets fired. The team is kind of galvanized into playing with a little bit more passion than normal. I feel like the Saints have a better team than the Browns, technically. The real Jameis Winston ended up standing up on Sunday, and he threw a couple of picks that were kind of known to sing. I think it was last week I mentioned that Jameis Winston threw his 100th interception. But I mean, it was only right. Taysom Hill had almost 200 yards rushing. Like, what are we doing here? What's going on? He had I saw it because I had them in a parlay. I just see him running down the sideline. I'm like, okay, they're good to go. And then all of a sudden, I flip back 3 minutes later, he's running down the sideline again. I'm like, what is this, the same run? Or what's going on? So I think the Saints are playing with a little bit more gumption right now that their head coach is fired. So they're punching above their weight currently right now.
So I got the next game as the Rams beat the Patriots 28-22. I mean, this is a win that they have to have. It was a little too close than it should have been. Respect to the Patriots. Mayo got them playing hard. They don't got the talent, but he's got them playing hard. And the Patriots did score 9 points in the fourth quarter, which made it a little closer than it really was. But I mean, it took a while for the Rams to finally pull away. Cooper Kupp, he looked great in this game. Cooper Kupp is one of those guys that I traded from my dynasty team because he's 31 years old and I don't know how much longer he has left, but I mean, I did trade him basically for T. Higgins. That'll probably work out better long term, but right now it's like, damn, Cooper Kupp's looking good.
He's cooking.
And just as I said earlier, in the NFC West, literally anyone can win the division at this point, Rams included. And so I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. Kevin, I saw you cooking there. Speaking of cooking, Anthony Richardson is back in the kitchen as the Colts beat the Jets 28-27.
Kev's guy.
Yeah, it's Kevin's guy.
I told Toddy, so this is back when I was a better. He sends me a parlay, and it has the Jets. And I said, Toddy, every week we fall for this shit. Every week we come in here and say, it's going to work. Why not? Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall finally came back to life. Everything was working. The kicker's making field goals. There's no way. There's no way Anthony Richardson drives down this field and wins this game. Sauce Gardner may be one of the most overrated corners in the NFL.
Tough.
My man ain't had a pick in 35 games. And he's missing tackles. And I don't know if you guys watched the press conference after the last game. The coach did a presentation on tackles, and they asked him what he thought about it. He said, we don't need a presentation on tackling. We know how to tackle. And he goes there.
That's what Sauce said?
Yeah, that's what Sauce said. Yeah, we don't need a presentation.
Yeah.
We got this. This goes to show how big of an impact Robert Saleh has. This defense was playing a lot better under Rob. Toddy mentioned it with the Saints, with their coach out. It's a breath of fresh air. It ain't like that in New York because you didn't get that fresh air because it's Aaron Rodgers' air and you're just there to take up space. As long as they can't block anybody up front, they're not going to be able to do anything. And I have been a Jets believer week in and week out, but they just can't get it done. But on the other end, Anthony Richardson, after 10 games, they gave up on him. 10 games. And now look at them. They beat the New York Jets. I bet Joe Flacco's sitting at home saying, God damn it, I don't got to go back out there. Thank God. I don't want to do this no more. Because if anyone wanted Anthony Richardson to start again, it was Joe Flacco. But Jonathan Taylor, to see him get going, 24 carries, 57 yards, and God damn it, Josh Downs. As soon as I put into the group chat that Anthony Richardson was starting, I said, Shaun, why did I trade for Josh Downs? Why? Anthony Richardson can't throw a 10-yard out. And now he's throwing pump fakes, throwing double moves to Alex Pierce, and that's all she wrote. So I'm really happy for him. I wish they never took him out, but this just goes to show that his confidence never folded. And he really got to show what he could do through the arm or through the air, and he was able to rush for 2 touchdowns. And obviously he ran for the game-winning touchdown. But Anthony Richardson has a lot of the tank, and I am excited to see him. So moving forward, the Jets fucking suck, and that's it.
You guys probably saw what Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings head coach, said to Anthony Richardson after their most recent game. Anthony Richardson, future Minnesota Viking. Speaking of the Minnesota Vikings, Toddy, they beat the Titans 23-13.
Yeah, we got the classic Will Levis turnover. He's
the
back.
Mayo Man.
The Mayo Man. Saw some flashes of Calvin Ridley in this game. Thought he might have been able to get going early. They were kind of getting him involved, but I just think no one's able. I think Justin Jefferson set the record for most receiving yards in a 5-year start to their career, which is insane. And I think the Titans are just not very talented at the quarterback position, and this showed that. I guess the Vikings are a little bit more competent with Sam Darnold, but he's starting to regress a little bit. But I think it was just, the Vikings, I think they were down earlier in the game, and then they kind of just started to catch up. And, the Titans weren't really able to put a really good drive together to kind of get things back in get back in the saddle a little bit. But I think the Vikings, I don't know if they're one of the better teams in the NFC, like we kind of thought they would be, but I do think that we'll probably see 3 teams come out of this division. I think it's very possible, just given based off how the NFC is set up. But yeah, this Titans team has to do some soul searching. I said that they should have went out and signed a quarterback, but they don't want to ruin their young quarterback's confidence, as 2 franchises kind of already have done. Like the Panthers benched Bryce out of the gate. The Colts, we saw bench Anthony Richardson. Titans haven't benched necessarily Will Levis, but if he keeps playing like this, it's going to be tough for him to kind of just continue to keep playing like this. But he sat down a couple of weeks because of injury, but not because he's not playing good. But I think it's starting to come to where, all right, dude, like we need some production.
Exactly. And for the next game, the Miami Dolphins, with the return of Tua Tagovailoa, defeated the Las Vegas Raiders 34-19. And I didn't expect much from Minshew Mania on the Raiders, but it feels like it's gotten about as bad as it can get. 2-8 for the Raiders right now. I mean, hey, I really just feel bad for Raiders fans, because Raiders fans, they've been through it for so long, and it's never ending, unless there is a guy who's currently in Boulder, Colorado, who has become really close. You both, for the audio only listeners, Kevin and Jaevon simultaneously did the Shedeur Sanders.
Didn't say a single word.
Which showing off the bling of all the watches that he wears. But man, Shedeur Sanders, he thanks God every Sunday, every time the Raiders
Bro, have y'all
lose.
seen that? It's just crazy.
Shedeur Sanders, future Las Vegas Raider. Maybe he'll be the savior.
Brady
but
mode.
it ain't. Yeah, I mean, hey, Brady's a minority owner now. Maybe Brady will turn Shedeur into the next great NFL quarterback just with his mentorship. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I still like Antonio Pierce. When he became the interim head coach, I was kind of like random, but he's a great leader of men, and that's why I like Antonio Pierce. And so I hope they give him a legitimate shot with Shedeur or whoever the next quarterback may be. I just hope that they don't treat Pierce like they did to Robert Saleh with the Jets, because as we're seeing, that was the last big topic that I talked about on this podcast, was when Saleh just got fired. And at the time, Toddy Kaz and I were saying, Saleh doesn't look like he's the problem. He was the scapegoat. And now we've had the time to clearly see that he was not the problem. Pierce isn't the problem. He just needs a team to build with and a guy to build with. That could end up being Shedeur Sanders. So we'll wait and see on that. Kevin, in this NFC North battle, the Packers beat the Bears 20-19.
So going back a week ago, I got very disrespectful on Mr. Caleb. We did a this or that. We heard
you did.
Joe Flacco. We heard names like Jameson, like J-Mo. We've heard names like Derek Carr. It got ugly. And Toddy said, Kevin, he's not that bad. It's been bad, but he's not that bad, Kevin. He's shit, but he's shitter. He's really bad, but he's badder, Kevin. Put some respect on his name. And that's what Caleb did. He went out there and single-handedly did everything he could to win this game, whether it's through the air or running the ball. He simply laid the ball for a 20-yard field goal and said, just kick the fucking ball. This is now the second drive. He has simply handed the Bears a win, and they just have to do one job, whether it's the Hail Mary or blocking for a field goal. You had one job and one job only. The Packers, I love seeing this version of Jordan Love. Healthy, confident, running the ball. but they need to get him to slinging the ball again. This whole game manager shit, 13 to 17, you just paid him all this money. You've hit on 3 quarterbacks in 3 past decades. Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre aren't throwing 17 passes. Let them sling it. You got Romeo Dobbs. Christian Watson came out of nowhere. You still have Jalen Reed. You have Josh Jacobs. You have Tucker Kraft. You have all these weapons. Let's use them. So the Packers, 7-3, heading into San Francisco. Or I don't know if are you guys going to them or are they coming to you?
We're going to Green Bay.
Oh shit! So they're preparing to had a cheese heads out, and as Jair Alexander once said, the pack is back.
I can't wait for those memes later in the week.
So Toddy, the Broncos, this was the shocker of the week to me. Not the outcome of the game, how it happened. The Broncos beat the Falcons 38-6.
I wasn't shocked at this game. I was kind of predicting, not the outcome, but I predicted that the Broncos would win, gambled on them. Are you guys Bo-leavers? Are you guys
in Bo Nix or the Broncos?
Are you Bo-leavers?
I'm not a Bo-lever.
You're not.
Okay,
I'm not a Bo-lever.
Toddy, do you know? Hold on, real quick. Do you know the origin of Bo-leave?
Can you break down the Bo-leave?
It's a WWE thing. I'm just gonna leave it there. Just go ahead. I thought that's what you were touching on. Go ahead.
Tough, but the Broncos are creeping up, guys. They can be a sneaky playoff team. I think they've won the majority of their last games. Obviously, the loss last week, which should have been a win, the miraculous block that happened. Sean Payton has kind of, dug his nails into this offense. He's got the quarterback that he wanted. Last year obviously didn't work with Russell Wilson. I think the defense is playing well. Javonte Williams, a year removed off of an ACL injury, has looked really good. I mean, Troy Franklin, their receiver that they drafted from Oregon. This Broncos team is good. They're a good team. The Falcons had a very underwhelming performance. We saw Michael Penix a little bit at the end of the game, but I mean, this was not a game that the Falcons were supposed to lose like this. If anything, it should have been a little bit closer. Kirk kind of did. I wouldn't say Kirk turned into a pumpkin, but Kirk kind of, came back to earth a little bit. I do think this Broncos team is a real team, and I think, hey man, if Bo Nix is going to be able to, I mean, he put up he had like 300 something yards and 4 touchdowns. If he's able to keep doing things like this, like, we got to start talking about him for Rookie of the Year. Like, this is like a real conversation that we're going to have to start having with the Broncos. And also, can the Broncos make the playoffs? Like, they were one of the worst teams in the NFL last year, and all of a sudden, Sean Payton, I think he does have he's involved in personnel as well. They're one of those teams that's like, hey, we can kind of if they can run the table a little bit at the end, they can for sure be a scary playoff team.
Toddy, you nailed that. 28 of 33 for 307 yards and 4 touchdowns for Bo Nix. And the fact that they won 38-6, they had that final score with 9 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
So they probably could have done more. And so now I'll get to this next game. And so the Chargers, they beat the Bengals 34-27. Toddy, you turned this game off. I turned this game off. And it turned out to be a great game. As the Bengals, they storm all the way back. T. Higgins comes back from his quad injury. He goes nuts. And the thing that impressed me the most about this game is the fact that the Chargers actually hung on to win. Because as we know, the Chargers just seem to find ways to lose games. I guess Jim Harbaugh is changing that because they held on for the win. They because the Chargers got outscored 21-10 in the second half, 14-3 in the third quarter, but 7-7 in the fourth. They got that last touchdown that they needed for the disparity. And last thing I'll say about this one, J.K. Dobbins
Oh,
from the Ohio State University. Thank you, Toddy. You already knew. Comeback player of the year. Lock him in. Comeback player of the year. Come on. Like,
who's
no
got
ifs, ands,
JK
or
in
buts
fantasy?
about it. I don't know.
I think it's
That's a
Gary.
good question. It's probably Gary.
Yeah.
But yeah, J.K. Dobbins, man. I love the comeback story for him. Lock him in for comeback player of the year. And Toddy, if you could get to our last game here before we close things out with Shaun's pop quiz, it's the game we just watched. It wasn't a good one. The Battle of Texas, as the Texans from Houston went into Jerry's World in Arlington and they beat the Dallas Cowboys 34-10.
Yeah, the bet I had in this game was the Texans team total. I was kind of unsure about the spread because I don't know, because things get weird in Jerry World, as Kevin likes to mention. But this game was not close at all. I mean, I think CJ Stroud threw an early pick, but I think the story in this game was Joe Mixon. Oh, well, the return of Nico Collins, I feel like, changes his offense a little bit. And Joe Mixon is just doing everything. He's running the ball. He's catching passes out the backfield. He does any and everything. And I feel like that changes the offense a little bit. When you add a guy like Nico Collins, who's the number one wide receiver on this team, and then you have guys like Tank Dell, John Mechie Jr., and you also have Joe Mixon running out of the backfield, and also Dalton Schultz, a former Cowboy. I think it does change the dynamic of the offense. I think they've looked a little bit stagnant in the absence of Nico Collins, but I think with him back in the helm, this offense will look better. The Cowboys, on the other hand, they just look like a piss poor organization. You just see guys on the sidelines kind of moping around. Cooper Rush is kind of doing whatever he can. Their O-line is treacherous. I mean, guys were just getting free rushes at Cooper Rush a bunch in this game, and it just looked bad all around when, Cowboy fans were leaving the stands early before the game was ending. It was just all around bad, and it looked, I don't know, McCarthy gets fired before the season's over because his contract's up. Like, he's not, I don't think they're going to renew his contract by the end of the year. So it's like, is he just going to get fired before the season's over? I'm not sure, but it does not look good in Dallas currently right now. There's just a bunch of things going on. Obviously, Dak is out for the year. DeMarcus Lawrence is another guy that they're missing. They're not a good team right now. And Kaz, who's came on this show a bunch of times, he's mentioned how good the Cowboys used to be at home. I don't even think they won a home game this year. I could be wrong. They're like, they look so bad. The Cowboys are top 5 right now if the draft started, if I'm not mistaken. But who would the Cowboys be in position to draft? Are they going to draft a receiver? I feel like they got to go a line or something. But Cowboys usually are the team. They're America's team. They're the team that has all the juice and flavor and this, that, and the third. They have none of that right now. They look bad. They look horrendous.
Well, I, for one, absolutely love the fact that the Cowboys are struggling so much at home, because I remember vividly when we were in the offseason and we were doing a division by division season predictions, and I had the Cowboys, and I think I picked the Cowboys to go like 8-9, and they're going to be worse than that, obviously. But a lot of the losses that I had were at home, and everyone was saying to me like, Shaun, the Cowboys, they win at home. They win at home. That's just what they do. Okay, maybe they might go 8-9, but they win at home. They're obviously not doing that this year. I love it. I'm eating it like candy. And Kevin, that game was going to be for you, but I know you had to let Blue out real quick. Did you want to dance on the Cowboys' grave a little bit more?
Oh, no, Toddy said it perfectly. They're just hurt right now. And as an Eagles fan, I can sit here and say if they were healthy, maybe it wouldn't look this bad, but it'd be bad. Because they did have Dak
Still bad, even if Dak was playing.
So, but regarding to the draft, Toddy, they currently have the 9th pick.
Top 10, okay. Kev wouldn't look that
So
up.
it goes Jaguars, Titans, Browns, Giants, Raiders, Pats, Jets, Panthers, Cowboys, Saints for the top 10.
Giants probably want to, or Raiders probably want to move
Bengals
up.
at 11 is crazy, bro. If they fuck around and get a Luther Burden or
They're back. They're back. See ya, T. Higgins.
T. Higgins ain't coming back, so
Yeah. See ya.
Well, it's officially that time, guys. It's been a long time. Let's close out this episode with Shaun's Pop Quiz. Kevin, I know that you got access to the StreamYard channel before, so I hope you didn't get a sneak peek. But if you did, so be it. It's time for Shaun's Pop Quiz, De'Aaron Fox edition. Our Friday shows are. Go ahead. What were we gonna say?
I'm winning, right? That's 2-1, right?
I will take a quick look at the standings while I figure that out. I will just say, okay, here it is. I figured it out. Actually, no. Toddy currently has 4. Kevin, you have 3. And as we know, Kevin was the season 1 winner from episode 1 to 50. Toddy was the season 2 winner from episode 51 to 104. And everything since is to be determined. And as I was getting to, Fridays are typically our NBA podcast. You guys have been holding it down quite well as I cover Friday night football on my high school beat. But we're going to sprinkle in a little bit of basketball today with Shaun's Pop Quiz. And it's because it's very timely, as De'Aaron Fox didn't have 60 points tonight. He didn't have 49 points tonight. But he had 60 on Friday. He had 49 on Saturday, back-to-back days. He scored 109 points. And he set the Kings franchise record for most points scored in a game. And so De'Aaron Fox has just been killing it without DeMar DeRozan, without Domantas Sabonis, without Malik Monk. He's been the Kings' savior. And I don't got to tell you guys any further. Let's just get to the questions, because this is De'Aaron Fox edition. This first one is kind of an easy one. And so I'm just going to make these a toss-up. I'm gonna keep my eye on the screen. I'm gonna make these a toss-up. So De'Aaron Fox scored 109 points over 2 days.
He didn't finish the question. You don't even know what the question is.
Kevin, you're muted, so we can't hear what you're saying. But for the audio-only listeners,
I know what the question is, so I'm just kidding.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's why I said it was an easy one. And so Kevin's ahead of it. Anyways, just to finish it out, De'Aaron Fox scored 109 points over 2 days. Who was the last player to score at least 109 points over 2 nights? Kevin Dent. Who was the only other player to do it in the last 50 years?
The Black Mamba, Kobe Bean Bryant.
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. Kobe Bryant did it in 2007. So Kevin now ties himself with Toddy with 4 points apiece. We move on to the next De'Aaron Fox question. And just out of fairness, I'll alternate it back and forth. Toddy, you have a shot to answer this question. And if you can't, then it'll go back to Kevin. So De'Aaron Fox, Kobe Bryant, they both have done it in this generation, in this century. There was a guy who did it 15 times. Toddy, who's that guy?
Will Chamberlain?
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. Wilt Chamberlain.
That was a hell of a pull, Toddy.
That was a hell of a pull. So Toddy gets a point. So Toddy now has 5 on the total scoreboard. Kevin has 4. So Kevin, it's alternating back to you. But what we'll do for this one is, we have 6 possible answers. So Kevin, it'll start with you. It can go back to Toddy, back and forth. See if you guys can get all 6 answers to this one question. So De'Aaron Fox became the 7th Sacramento King all time to score at least 50 points in a game. So this one's starting out with Kevin, so hopefully he doesn't snipe your one, Toddy. But De'Aaron Fox became the 7th King all time to score at least 50 points in a game. This goes all the way back to Rochester and Cincinnati, as well as Kansas City. Kevin, who is a Sacramento King other than De'Aaron Fox who has scored at least 50 points in a game?
This is getting ridiculous. DeMarcus Cousins.
I love the reference. There you go. Point for Kevin. DeMarcus Cousins, and he referenced the exact game when Boogie dropped like 56. against the Portland Trail.
Did they lose in that game, Shaun?
No, they won it. They won it.
They won
They
that game. Okay.
that was the game. It was ridiculous because Boogie got ejected, and then they said, actually, no, he's not ejected. You can come back. So he
He'd go
went
back.
to the locker room, and he came back, went crazy. So
Yeah.
DeMarcus Cousins is correct. Toddy, do you have a guess of one of the other 5 Kings who has scored at least 50 points in a game?
I was watching the stream while this was going on. Tiny Archibald.
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. So Toddy gets a point. Back on top with 6. Kevin has 5. 4 more answers, Kevin. Do you have another guess?
I have 2, but I'm gonna go with. I mean, I'm gonna go Mitch. Is Mitch Richmond on one there?
Unfortunately, The Rock is not on there. Dwayne or Mitch. So, Toddy, do you have an answer? Well, there's 4 more remaining.
Oh, I don't remember the other names. It's coming to me.
I'm going to need an answer in about 5 seconds.
Do we have Chris Webber?
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. That's a
That was
good
my
guess.
guess.
So, Toddy now has 7. Kevin has 5. Kevin, there's 3 more answers. Not DeMarcus Cousins, not Chris Webber, not Tiny Archibald. There are 3 more Sacramento or 3 more Kings all time who have scored at least 50 points in a game. Do you have another guess, Kevin?
I want to say Tyreek did it. No.
No, unfortunately, he did not.
You call yourself a Kings fan?
How do you watch the broadcast and we already guessed everyone that I would have guessed? Well, I would have never got Nate Archibald. I would have never got that.
Yeah.
So, but the other 2 guys were the only guys I would have named.
I
And
wouldn't
Mitch.
have gotten it either.
Any other guesses, Toddy? Do you,
De'Aaron
Toddy? Well, other than De'Aaron Fox, come on.
Damn it!
Does that count as his turn?
I mean, the question said other than De'Aaron Fox, so
Okay.
I mean, I'll count that as a turn just to open it up for a toss-up. We got 3 more names on this list, and I think you guys should get 2 of them.
Mike Bibby?
No, but that's a good guess. At this
Oh,
point, you guys can just start throwing shit at the wall.
Bobby?
Bobby
Ron Artest?
Jackson? Did you
Yeah,
say
Ron
Bobby
Artest.
Jackson?
Yes.
That is not correct, or Ron Artest.
Duh.
Oscar?
Who?
Oscar Robinson?
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
That is correct. Oscar Robertson is one of the 2 that I thought you should get. Kevin gets a point. He now has 6. Javon has
Peja
7.
didn't have
There
one,
are
did he?
2. Who?
Did Peja have one?
No, he did not. But Andrej is going stupid at Cal.
Vlade?
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
No, Vlade didn't score 50.
No, not Vlade.
Kevin Martin.
So, ding, ding, ding. Yes.
Oh!
I'm so glad you got that one, Toddy, because that was the other one that I was hoping you guys would get.
Kmart. He was going.
So
he was
just
Alonzo shot before Alonzo.
just for just for the sake of time, I wouldn't have got this one myself, even though this guy has had his jersey retired by the Kings franchise.
Jerry Lucas.
No, but that's a good pull. Jack Twyman was the other King.
Never heard of him.
No. All right. Now we gotta get going. So I know we got to get going, but one final question for you guys, and this one is a bit outdated just because the Kings had a game tonight. But this is through the weekend. De'Aaron Fox leads the NBA this season in most points in the clutch. So far this season, De'Aaron Fox has scored 45 points in the clutch with a 61% true shooting percentage. I'm not going to ask you guys about the top 9, but De'Aaron Fox leads most clutch points in the NBA this season. I'm wondering who are the other 4 in the top 5.
Jason Tatum.
And at this point,
Wow.
did you guys both said Jason Tatum at the same time?
Well, if anything, it should have been my turn first because he answered last. So I think Kevin gets the point.
I think I said it first.
Rochambeau, right now, 1v1.
That-
Rock,
that's-
paper,
that-
scissors, shoot.
Flip
We're
a
going on shoot.
Flip a coin. Flip a coin. Flip a coin. Flip a coin.
No, what? I want a chance to
Flip a coin.
fight for my right.
Flip a coin.
What?
I don't
Flip a coin.
have a coin. Do either of you
Hey,
have
hey,
a coin?
I
I
don't
don't
flip
have
a
a
coin.
coin.
All right, come on.
All right, Toddy, rock, paper, scissors right here.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock,
We're
paper,
going on
scissors.
shoot.
Yeah, rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay, hold on. Let's go.
Sean's
Okay.
announcing it, brother. Come on.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
This is the last time. Rock, Paper.
You have to hit your hands, Toddy.
All right, I'm just gonna say it quick. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh!
For the audio only listeners, Toddy pulled out scissors. Kevin had paper, so Toddy gets the point. Yes, that is correct. Jason Tatum is third.
Damn,
with through the weekend, 37 most clutch points. So Toddy gets the point. Toddy now has 9. Kevin has 6. So Toddy's creating a bit of a gap. Yep, it is now your turn. So I'm looking for guys in the top 5. And just to help you guys out a little bit, we've already said De'Aaron Fox. We've already said Jason Tatum. I'm looking for 3 more names, but the guys who are 6 through 9, so you know not to guess these guys. LaMelo Ball is 6th. Darius Garland is 7th. Cam Thomas is 8th. And Jalen Green, Toddy's boy, is 9th. So none of those names, not De'Aaron Fox, not Jason Tatum. There are 3 other names that I'm looking for.
My turn.
It's Kevin's turn.
Let's go. I haven't had any close games. Donovan Mitchell? They haven't really had any close games either.
No, but that was a good guess. All right, Toddy, it's your turn. 3 more names.
Thanks, Kev. I was gonna guess him.
So again, just for the audio only listeners,
Anthony Edwards?
No, that is incorrect. So Kevin, as you think of your next answer, I'll give you 10, 15 seconds to think. This is the top 5 players who lead the NBA in most points in the clutch this season. Points in the clutch is defined by a game that is within, is it 10 points or 5 points, but within 5 minutes?
Is it
so
cap?
5 points? Karl Anthony Towns is incorrect. So Toddy, this is your last guess before I'm going to give some big hints.
I know one.
Okay.
I know.
Okay. Well, all right. Maybe we'll do one more round then. Toddy, do you have a guess before Kevin gives his?
Jokic?
Ding, ding, ding. That's number 2. Nikola Jokic has 38. And Nikola Jokic, except for... Okay, no, never mind. Let's keep it pushing. 2 more names on this list. De'Aaron Fox is number 1. Nikola Jokic is number 2. Jason Tatum's number 3. I'm looking for 4 and 5. Kevin, unless Jokic was your guess, who do you got?
DeMar?
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. DeMar DeRozan is number 4. So let me give Toddy his point for Jokic. Let me give Kevin his point for Debo. So the scoreboard is now Toddy has 10. Kevin has 7. One more answer. Toddy, it goes back to you before it's a free-for-all. Do you have a guess? This player is number 5 with 35 points in the clutch this season and a true shooting percentage of 76%.
Giannis?
That is incorrect. All right, it's a free-for-all.
Trae Young.
Nope, that is incorrect.
Luka.
That is incorrect. You guys each get one more guess before I give you the answer and we get out of here.
Western Eastern Conference.
Steph Curry.
It wasn't your turn. So that's right.
It's a free-for-all. That was Toddy's last guess. That is incorrect.
Oh.
Unfortunately.
So I get to get the question answered, Western or Eastern Conference? Is this the last guess?
Western.
Wow.
Hey, I was speaking and you interrupted me. It's what you get.
I mean, Toddy, you still would have said Steph Curry based on it being the West.
Huh.
All right, well, Toddy currently has 10. Kevin has 7. Kevin, can you get that deficit a little shorter? What's your guess?
When all else fails, you pick the GOAT. LeBron James.
Might be right.
He's not right, but damn, you were close.
Anthony Davis.
Nope. But the thing is I mentioned this player who ranks 5th right now has 35 points in the clutch this season. Who do you think of when you hear 35?
Kevin Durant.
He's not 35 anymore, but yeah, Kevin Durant. So after this week, after this week's return of Shaun's pop quiz, Toddy has 10, Kevin has 7, but there's many more quizzes to come, and Kevin can get right back in it. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen, before we get out of here?
I will not see you guys next Monday. I will be participating in the SoFi Takeover.
Is that Sunday night or Monday night game?
Waiting all day for Sunday night. It looks like it's gonna get flexed. I'm like, I sure fucking hope not.
No, it's not
That would be tough. That'd be tough. Nah, but I mean, it's against the Rams, right?
If it get flex, y'all should get prorated because y'all paying for Sunday night tickets.
If it's flex, nigga, oh, excuse me. I better get to go meet Saquon Barkley. Forget everybody else. Kevin Dent better get to go down on the field and throw just a couple out routes.
All right, Kevin. Well, I hope you enjoy the game. I hope you enjoy Southern California. And Kevin, you may not believe that I'm being genuine, but I truly am. I'm glad that one of us on this panel, and this is Kaz included, so I'm glad half of this panel can be happy right now because right now, Toddy and I, we are going through it. So that is going to do it for episode 123 of Stats Over Politics. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It helps us a lot. And if you enjoy the podcast, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics and on X at Stats or Politics. See all the great content that Kevin's putting out there. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. And if you're enjoying the show, give us those 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. As you guys have been tuned in to episode number 123 of Stats Over Politics. For my guys, Jaevon, Toddy, Kevin Dent, and our guy, Kaz Johnson, I'm your host, Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you. Are you guys doing NBA episode Friday?
Toddy would have to do it by himself, so I'll be gone. So I leave Thursday.
We will see you next Monday on another episode of Stats Over Politics.
Go Birds, baby.